Good evening, everybody. If you'd all take a seat, that'd be great. Gentlemen. Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Kim Cousins. I'm the president and CEO of the Lake Elsinore Valley Chamber of Commerce and the treasurer and director, and I think other assorted titles for the Lake Elsinore citizens vote no on Measure A. So we're glad you joined us this evening, and we're going to have an informational session and answer any questions that you might have. At the same time, we are going Facebook Live, so this will be out on the Chamber website and on our Facebook page for Vote No on Measure A. So without further ado, though, it's my pleasure to introduce Mayor Bob Mcgee.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for taking time out of your day to get educated about Measure A. I just want to direct your attention to the screen, because to me, this says it all. You cut out the noise, the static, the history, anxiety, the circus. You have our beautiful lake in the foreground. You have the majestic Ortega Mountains in the background. And Lake Elsinore simply needs to say no to Measure A. I'm going to leave the details to the detail people. This is the big picture. No on Measure A. Thank you.
So thank you very much. I'd also like to introduce some of our dignitaries with us. So we do have Councilman Steve Manos with us, and our treasurer, Alan Baldwin, our city manager, Grant Yates. So let's talk about the purpose of the meeting. Again, this is an information session for you to understand. Oh, and Councilman Darrell Hickman, for you to understand the importance of Measure A. Now, Measure A is an initiative that was approved by the Register of Voters through a ballot initiative, and it will be on May 2nd. It'll be on your ballot. The ballots have already been delivered out to the homes, and I actually have a sample of one of those pamphlets that went out. It does specifically indicate that the registration deadline in order for you to be able to vote on this initiative is the 17th of April, so coming up very quickly. And then obviously there's polling places, and I do have that information for you if you're interested. There are going to be 10 polling places that are specific to Measure A, and similar to what you saw in the general election. So if you are going to a physical polling place, I do have the list of places that you would be able to go to. Now, the city did put out some information, and we do have this on the Chamber site as well as our Facebook site for No on Measure A. Just frequently asked questions. Again, is an election being held to consider a citizen initiative that qualified to be on the ballot? The election laws specifically state that these matters that have to be held within 88 to 103 days for calling of election. That's why it's not on a regularly scheduled election schedule. Where do I vote? Again, we talked about those polling places. The ballots are out in the mail. I've already seen some returned at the post office in their little green envelopes. And if you're not certain if you have a registration status as current, you can go to www.voteinfo.net, or you can contact the city's clerk's office at 674-3124 extension 269, and they will certainly help you with either polling places in order to let you know if that you're a valid registered voter in the city of Lake Elsinore. And again, this is only for city residents. On the table over there, we do have examples of some of the literature that has already been mailed out to the households, and this is the very first one that went out, and it just talks about No on Measure A. The copies are available over there. And there's a second one that was mailed out yesterday, and those copies, there's a copy on the table for you to take along if you'd like to get some more information about this measure. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you now to Mr. Mark Jones. He's a representative with Castle and Cook, and he'll take you through a little bit of the discussion as to why it's very important for us, again, to vote no on Measure A.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Cousins, Mayor Mcgee, council members. Good evening. My name is Mark Jones. I'm here on behalf of Castle and Cook and Pacific Clay, the landowners of the Albert Hill Villages site. As many of you know, the Albert Hill Villages site was conceived as a very vibrant community with amenities, including shopping, dining and entertainment, new homes, office spaces, medical facilities, educational facilities, all of these being anchored by open space, parks, and trails. Beautifully designed project. And the foundation of this plan came largely from input we received over the years from community members who expressed a desire for more amenities closer to home. And that's why it is important that these elements are preserved within a framework of a phased and marketable project. After the City Council adopted a specific plan for the site and following the qualification of Measure A for the ballot, we continued our discussions with the city. And along with city staff and the city attorney, we pursued a very cooperative effort to clarify a number of the aspects of the Albert Hill Villages plan to the benefit of everyone involved. And through this cooperative process, we reached an amended and restated Albert Hill Villages plan and development agreement that was adopted by unanimous vote of the City Council in February of this year with our full support. And that's why we're urging voters to vote no on Measure A. And we believe that the plan that was adopted by the city in February of this year is a much better plan for the city. It's a better plan for the landowner, and it is more importantly, or most importantly, better for the residents of City of Lake Elsinore. So we're pleased to join members of the City Council, the individual members of the City Council, I should say, the Chamber of Commerce, and the members of Lake Elsinore in asking the voters to support the Albert Hill Villages plan by voting no on Measure A in the upcoming special election. Thank you again for your time and for your interest.
So again, in the formation of a political action committee, which is a separate entity from the Chamber of Commerce and has its own financials and reporting requirements back to the Secretary of State. The initiatives that we have encountered over this period of time is to make sure that there's signage out there. So I'm going to encourage you all, if you're supportive of a no vote, to please take a yard sign with you and put it in your favorite spot in your yard, especially if you're in an HOA area such as Tuscany or Canyon Hills that don't allow us to place signs in the parkways without being removed. We really need some of that advertising in those areas, so we're encouraging you to take those with you today. You also see very large signs out and about within the community in very large targeted traffic areas that are 4-foot by 8-foot billboards that talk about no on Measure A. And it's important for us to educate our neighbors because some of them may see that pamphlet and they may toss it in the mail, and it's very important for us to get those numbers out. It's going to be a very low voter turnout, both by mail and personally. And if everybody throws them into the trash can and doesn't vote no, then we're going to get a yes vote. And the yes vote is going to just basically stop this project dead in the water. So by the 3rd of May, we're going to be in trouble, and we'll be having that discussion on the 4th. So we're out campaigning within the communities to make sure that we do get that no vote. And the exciting part about that is it really kind of spearheads us, moves us in the direction of getting phase 1 and 2 of this project moving forward. So as the Chamber of Commerce, we're out doing the economic development for the community. And we have a very large conventions called ICSC in Las Vegas, where we go out and try and attract new retailers to our community, new hotels to our community. And with a no vote, we'll be in a position to actually go out and mark this project at the end of May. So it's very important from an economic development standpoint, too, that we get that vote. At this time, I'm going to open it up that you might have any questions and answers. And I do want to introduce our Assistant City Manager, Jason Simpson, who can answer any of the financial issues associated with what would a yes vote mean versus a no vote financially for the city of Lake Elsinore. So are there any questions that we can answer at this time from the audience? No? Well, that's a good thing. I like that. So everybody's no? I like that. No and no and no and no, and telling all your neighbors. I have to tell a quick story. I do have a friend of mine that we encouraged to look and shop for a new house here in Lake Elsinore, and they just closed escrow last week in Summerley. And so they got their keys on Wednesday, and by Thursday I had him down at the register re-registering himself, his wife, and his mother-in-law, so I had 3 more no votes. because if I lost by one vote, I would be very sad. So it's going to take that word of mouth. I've got a lot of questions and people a little confusion on the streets as to why we didn't just repeal the initiative. And again, if you think of the power of the pen, the voters have rights. And once the voters sign that document is a legal document that has to be processed. There is no repeal retrieval process. So people were very confused about why don't you just invalidate the election? There's no such thing. There was a significant number of signatures on that document. It qualified. It has to go to the ballot. But at this time, we have a far superior plan that everybody agrees to that's going to move us very quickly down the path of development, especially in phase one. And we certainly want to move in that direction, and that's why we're encouraging. And you see both agencies are on the same side and saying vote no. So with that, if there's no questions, I will, yes, Susan.
Okay, if once the initiative goes through and we have all the no votes that we want on May 3rd, when do they start construction?
When do you start construction? Ken, you want to field that one, or Mark? You want to talk a little bit about phase one and that process? Okay.
That's a good question, and I hope I'll be able to answer it. I think it's important to take this one step at a time, first of all, and the first step is for the voters to turn out on May 2nd and to vote no on Measure A, as Mr. Cousins has stated. Now, once that happens, that means that the Albert Hill Villages plan and development agreement that the city approved in February this year will remain in place, and that is a very important thing. And after that, as mining is completed on the various phases of the project, the landowners will be in a position to move forward with the development of the project. And I'll say this, that there has been significant market interest in the neighborhood commercial areas within phase one of the project. So I think that would be a likely area that we might expect to be the first portion of the property to be developed. But again, first things first, May 2nd, vote no on Measure A. Thank you.
Any other questions? I know what Susan's thinking. She's like me. She's a North Ender, and we're looking for services. So we're thinking Lake and Nichols is a great place for a new shopping center. So we look forward to that day. So Mayor Mcgee, would you like to wrap up any comments, or we're good to go?
I would just encourage people to talk to their neighbors, to talk to your coworkers, and that oftentimes people don't want to ask a question in a public forum like this. Many of us will be here for a while, so let's go to the informal part of the meeting and have the opportunity to ask your questions in a less formal environment, except for
George.
Director George from the city, Wildomar.
I'm going to say it really quiet.
Yes, George.
If you can, I would like to know what mentioned phase one. I'd like to know how, what is it? If you can.
Yeah. I'm going to introduce Ken Crawford. He's our project engineer, and he knows much more about the pieces of the puzzle than I do. So,
good evening. Thanks again for coming. As far as the phase one development, if you can envision Lake Street from the I-15 freeway southerly to Nichols Road, all along the west side of Lake Street, which is the Pacific Clay side, that is what we call our phase one. That's comprised of, majority of it is commercial uses, as well as the university site and a couple of residential areas. So it's all in and along Lake Street along the west side. Now, breaking that down a little bit further, the neighborhood commercial area that Mark had referred to is more at the intersection of Nichols and Lake Street. So it'd be that northwest corner of Nichols and Lake, where a lot of the mining is going on right now. So we're getting that mining taken care of. We have to reclaim the property per the Office of Mining and Reclamation, and then we can move into development. So that's the area that we call phase one. Okay? Hopefully, did it? I wish I had a map. I'm sorry, we don't have a map.
Because if you're coming off of the freeway
Mhm.
and you're coming to Nickel,
Yes, it'd be on your right-hand side.
okay, so right there where the clay mine is.
Yes, yes.
Well, that makes more sense.
Yes.
Because I know there's another mine, I believe, over on Nichols itself.
Yes.
I think it's a gravel pit or
Yeah,
something.
that's at Nichols in the freeway.
Of Nichols.
Yeah, that's
Where
not
the
part of it.
clay mine is.
That's correct.
Okay. Now you got my vision.
Okay, good. You got yourself located.
I got my orientation.
Good, good.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Again, Alan Baldwin.
Hi, Al.
Would you be able to preserve the school, the brick schoolhouse?
The brick schoolhouse is a very challenging facility, and it is not going to be preserved in its current location. They're within the specific plan. I believe they called for materials from the brick or from the schoolhouse to be relocated and reused on the site. Okay? Yes.
Yes, my name's Linda Reichenauer.
Yes, Linda.
I was wondering if there's details we can look at of why that school cannot be saved or a big portion of it. That's very historic.
I think, Linda, if you look in the EIR, we addressed that information. I don't have that with me, but it's in the
Where would I find it?
it's in the technical appendices. Maybe I could ask Grant, is that something that we have online?
It is. It's in the technical appendices, it's cultural resource section.
Right.
Where they address that. It's on the city's website. I can send you the link.
Good.
Do so.
I'm just
Okay.
concerned because my grandfather had property there, and it was a very interesting camp or town. It's a shame we're just going to have it disappear from history. So it'd be interesting to do that. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, back to you, Kim.
Thank you very much. So also I see Councilman Brian Tisdale has joined us too, so I want to make sure I recognize him. So we're going to go unlive on Facebook, and then if you have any questions in an informal format, go ahead and approach one of us. We'll be more than happy to answer any questions. Again, take mini signs and plant them in your favorite corners, out of the right of way though, otherwise the city's going to pick them up. I'll have to go to the yard, but we do encourage you to take a sign and vote no on Measure A. Thank you very much for coming out.